Enbridge, Canada's largest pipeline company. It's the biggest shipper of crude from Alberta's oil sands. And Patrick Daniel is president and CEO of Enbridge. He joins us now with an outlook on his company and his industry. Patrick, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Let's talk about oil prices, first of all. We've seen more than a 50% gain in prices for the year to date. What does that mean for the Alberta oil sands? Do you think that is going to spur a quick recovery here?
Well, it's very positive for the oil sands, obviously. I don't know that I would call it a quick recovery, but I think it's fair to say that as prices firm up, we're going to see plans put in place by a number of the major companies developing the oil sands to move forward with initiatives that they had underway a number of years ago, and they slowed down as a result of the collapse in crude oil price. So most of those are coming back on track, but I don't think we're going to see the real rapid escalation that we had a few years ago.
What signs of renewed activity are you seeing thus far?
Well, to date, the main activity has been an ExxonMobil Imperial Oil initiative to develop their Coral Lake project, and that was announced back a couple of months ago. The first real big new development since the downturn of over a year ago. And there are a number of other projects that are in the development phase that we expect to be announced over the next little while.
Sir, do you have any concerns that maybe pipeline capacity to the U.S. might become too large, with some cancellations and delays and such?
There's no doubt that we're going to have overbuilt the pipeline capacity needed ex-Alberta. That definitely is happening. Relatively speaking, though, that doesn't represent a big part of the cost for a crude oil shipper. To have a little bit of extra pipeline capacity is not a bad thing, but we will have more capacity out of Alberta than we need for the next while.
How much extra capacity are we talking about?
Well, it's going to depend on the time frame at which a lot of these projects develop, but you know, we could be in a period of time where we've got 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 barrels a day of excess capacity, but that'll soon be eaten up as the new projects come on stream.
How much of that's already committed?
Sorry, how much
of the plant capacity is already committed?
A good part of it is already committed, but the projects have yet to be developed that will bring that production on stream.
Another project that you've been working on is called the Gateway Pipeline. That's from the oil sands to the west coast of Canada. And you said you plan to file for regulatory approval. This is a project that's been lingering around for quite some time. So what's the latest on that?
The latest is that we plan to make application to the National Energy Board in Canada in November this year. We've been working on the concept around Gateway for 8 or 9 years now, actually, and it's driven primarily by a desire for Canadian producers to broaden out their markets, to be able to access tidewater and to get into Southeast Asian markets. So the project has gone up and down depending on the level of desire by producers to get to those broader markets.
Well, and speaking of producers, PetroChina has been a partner in that project. Is that partnership still solid, and are you talking to any other partners as well?
We've got multiple partners involved in the project. We've got a consortium of producers and refiners that are supporting it. PetroChina we have a memorandum of understanding with, but they're not a formal funding partner on the project at this point.
Any idea or any chance of any acquisitions outside of North America? You did mention Asia. Any other places?
In terms of moving crude oil, primarily Asia, and all the way from Japan down to Singapore, by the way. It's not just a Chinese market.
What are you seeing there? What are you seeing there that's giving you pause and you're saying, you know what, we can do business here? What is it? Well,
the main thing is the fact that Southeast Asia is pretty much dependent on Middle East crude. They would like to diversify their supply and hence would like access to Canadian crude. Similarly, Canadian producers would like to diversify their markets and hence the Southeast Asian markets, all being driven by the economic growth in Southeast Asia, China, India, etc. There's the big demand for crude oil associated with that.
One of the other things that I know your company is interested in is deep water drilling. And to that effect, you actually signed an agreement to do an ultra deep water pipeline system in the Gulf of Mexico. That was just on Monday.
Yes.
So do you expect to see more of that? Is this just a small step in that direction?
We do expect to see more of it, and we're the biggest gas gatherer in the deepwater Gulf of Mexico and are now going to provide the gas pipeline service for Chevron and partners at Jack and St. Malo, and also the oil pipeline to their Bigfoot development. And as we move deeper and deeper, as producers move deeper and deeper in the Gulf of Mexico, we expect to be in a very good position to be the pipeline provider for them.
I just want to mention that we just got some headlines from Didier Houssin of the International Energy Agency, and he's saying that he says oil demand could rise in the fourth quarter and continue through 2010. He does say that a fast rise in oil prices jeopardizes the economic rebound, and that the U.S. will have much lower gas prices in coming years, which could then affect other regions. So let's start, first of all, with what he said about oil prices. Do you see a continuing rebound in demand going into the fourth quarter, going into next year?
We see a recovery in demand, but not a dramatic and immediate recovery. And to tell you the truth, from a pricing point of view, I think it's fair to say that even producers would rather see a gradual increase in pricing rather than the volatility that we've seen over the years. It's very hard to plan going forward when you have the kind of volatility that we've had. So, but we do expect to see some increase in demand, yes.
Patrick Daniel, thanks a lot for coming in to talk to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Patrick Daniel, the CEO of Enbridge.